just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of, I don't know what to call it, the Captain's Run. Not on today. The great Smithy, he had something else he had to get to, nothing bad or anything like that. So I thought, you know what? I'll come in and we'll do a round preview on the Bloke Network. Network's such a strong word. Like, network, it's a bunch of podcasts. It's just a bunch of podcasts. Sounds so official. Anyway, we thought we'd come in and do a preview because obviously I understand that the DMP on a Thursday, we don't really preview that much. It's not very technical, the discussion. It's good. It's just not technical. So I thought, you know what, we'll give the people what they want, and that's actually rugby league chat. No offense, Tom and Eddie. No offense. But yeah, anyway, Matty, how you going, bro?
I'm good. I'm not used to being in here on a Wednesday. It's a little bit different, but yeah, I like previewing stuff. It's fun. So yeah, glad to be here.
I've always had this idea. I don't know not idea, but and it's all just about time and that. But like a Teamless Tuesday show.
I remember you floated it for half a second earlier in the year.
Yeah.
It would be good. It's
shorter, like sharper. You know, maybe 45 to an hour long. And I know people are going to be like, oh, yeah, do that. It's like, I understand. I get it. It's just a matter of like, finding time. I think a cool way to do it, though, would be Teamless Tuesday, but you do it via everything via Zoom.
Yeah.
For the Teamless Tuesday. So you don't have to come into the studio and break everything down. Because then what you can do is that, like a Teamless Tuesday, an idea I had was you do the Teamless Tuesday, it's on Zoom, but you have like all NRL content creators, like a big, pretty much all the big ones.
Yeah.
Doing the Teamless Tuesday. So Roasty, myself, Hello Sport, Roo, Timmy.
Yeah.
And it's all like a big Zoom. Again, I don't know how chaotic it would be. And maybe, you know what, maybe we would just do people that talk, like that want to talk seriously about footy. So take the comedic sides out, whatever it is. Or you do just comedic. I don't know. But just a big Zoom for Teamless Tuesday. I don't know. I think it'd be funny.
Yeah, that would be good. But like even like from a consumer perspective, yesterday, like there was chaos on Teamless Tuesday yesterday. Like I look at the teams, I see Ponga's back. First thing I thought, oh shit, does that mean he's going to play Origin? Then there's Turbo at centre, blah, blah, blah. So there's always, like it's rugby league. It's a never-ending soap opera, but there's always stuff to talk about on Teamless Tuesday. Like we put out a post every Tuesday and there's always, I have to fit everything in. We have to fit everything into 10 slides. Like there's always a lot going on. So there's definitely legs in that for sure.
Just, matter of
time.
Work. Yeah. All right, guys, don't forget, give us a follow on Sportsbet. You go to more, you go to feed, you give us a follow. I'll get my bets up probably today. Hammy's away, so he's the one that inputs the Bloke in the Bar multi. So I don't know if we'll do it this week, but he'll be back next week to do it. He looks like he's having a great time.
Oh, yeah.
The great Hammy.
Yeah, he's in Japan, and you've never been to Japan, have you? But didn't you say it's like next on your list to go to?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It looks
so cool.
The culture shock would be amazing. I reckon.
It'd be amazing. So don't forget, give us a follow on Sportsbet. Takes 2 seconds, and always a massive thank you to our partners at Sportsbet. They're the best in the business. Gamble responsibly, guys. Though don't go crazy. Only within your means.
Sorry, I forgot it wasn't Packer Up Boys for a second. I was like, get ready to talk about Japan, and they're like, oh wait, no, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. We can't just talk about anything. Okay. Also, don't forget, use code BEST for $7 off Menulog this week, as he is our hungriest player. So use code BEST. For $7 off your order. I think it excludes KFC.
Yep.
And the awesome thing about that, guys, is, as I say, download the Menulog app, because not only is it supporting the platform, but you get discounts every single week. And every time you use our discounts, they see that and they go, wow, okay, this partnership is really good. So if you're ordering on other platforms, just change over to Menulog, order on Menulog, because A, you're going to get it way cheaper, but B, also they see that and they are happy with the partnership. A massive thank you to Menulog. In regards to the partnership, it's been 2 years now. Hopefully we go into our third year. Roosters sign Mark Nawang-Nitawasi. Marky Mark. He will join the team after the Paris Olympics. So that's 2024. Look, I don't think he'll get much game time this year unless there's a lot of injuries.
Yeah. Like for example, if it was this week, I'm sure he'd get a run because, half the team's out. But
I don't know if he'd get a run this week.
When they're... Oh, you reckon? Because Satili, Tupanua and Jennings are the centres.
But he hasn't played any.
Sorry. I didn't mean like if he got parachuted in. I mean like if he was available maybe a week like this. But you're right. Like at the start of the year, we were saying maybe Suoliti or Billy Smith were fighting off for that last centre spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're probably right. If they're anywhere close to full strength, they're probably not going to play him.
Like maybe towards the back end of the season. So when you're Paris, so that means he'll basically just be there for finals footy.
Yeah.
Look, I think what's happened here though is what Roosters have. Look, if he can play, he can play. That's good. But what they've done is the earlier we get this bloke in,
Absolutely,
the better. Like we need to get this guy in the rugby league system. It's the same with the fella going to the Titans, who has also, I think, been released early, and he will join the Titans as well. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Could you just check that? I think he'll join the Titans early. I think, which is so important for them because, like, essentially, I think they need to see because Foran hasn't re-signed yet.
No.
And I think they need to see, like, can this guy be our 7? Look, it's a huge ask for him to be a 7. I think he probably suits a 6 more. But yeah, the more minutes you can get with him on a rugby league field, in a rugby league system, obviously the better. But, geez, it's going to be interesting to see how essentially the cream of the crop. Now, I know that, like rugby union fans will say, oh, hang on a sec, they didn't make this team or whatever. But essentially in the top tier of union is coming to league. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly they transition because, it always has been the question, league to union, how's it going to go? Most of the time it goes all right if they enjoy it, as in leagues that go to union for a long period of time. But most of the time, but union to league, we haven't really seen that much.
It is, and by the way, you are right. So Carter Gordon, granted early release, same as Mark for the Titans. But you are right. Like, if they get, even if it's just 2 weeks in reserve grade to finish the year, then before they start a full preseason, then they can be like, all right, this is what we need to work on. This is what we need to work on.
You get a feel.
Yeah, exactly.
You go like, oh shit, like this is what it feels like to be in reserve grade. This is the speed of the game. This is how many tackles. It just gets it out of the way. Don't get me wrong; they'll be nervous as anything heading to the next year. But 2 games in reserve grade is going to be important. So yeah, good for both players. And as I said, we've seen obviously a lot of league has been poaching young union players for forever. So that's nothing new. But we haven't. I'm trying to think of a union player at the top of their game, essentially, that's come directly into an NRL system. That doesn't happen that often. No,
not off the top of my head, I can't really think of a recent one.
Yeah, now we've seen obviously league come back whatever, but union straight into league and a union player that's genuinely at the top. Really, really interesting to see what happens there.
That's excluding like sevens players like Lockie. What's the Sharks player's name?
Yeah, Miller.
Lockie Miller. Yeah, like not including kind of those guys.
Yeah, and sevens it's obviously the same game, but it's quite different to rugby 15s or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. But we'll see. I tell you what, that last name, it's going to give me nightmares for the rest of my life. And look, our commentators aren't the best at the best of times. They're going to struggle with this one. They're going to struggle.
I think so. A lot of the commentators for Tino, they call him Tino. So I reckon we're going to get a lot of mark.
Yeah.
A lot of mark action.
Look, I get it. I understand the frustrations, if you're of a descent that has last names that are, get butchered. I get the frustration. All I always say is like, it is a different language to essentially so you're pronouncing things differently. Although sometimes, like for example, the fact that people still say Tamare Martin and we're guilty of it or whatever, Tamare Martin. I think that's one where I'm like, we could be better.
Yeah,
at
that's
that.
just being lazy.
Yeah, like rolling an R.
Yeah,
I think that we could all be better at that. But the ones that are like really long and like, we do our best, but we're going to butcher them. Anyway, okay. And you might be wondering, why am I sitting in these seats? I tell you what, because it's so much more comfortable than sitting up at the bar. That's one thing heading into next year we have to fix.
Yeah.
We're not changing the studio. Don't worry, guys. The studio will stay the same. We've got to find a way to make those chairs more comfortable because at the moment it's a bar, so we're sitting high. Our legs don't touch the ground. We need to put like a platform.
Well, the difference is we sit in the same chairs, but it's no problem for me because I sit at a normal height.
Yeah, normal height.
My feet are on the floor.
Bar.
Yeah.
It is tough. It's a massive slog, 4 hours. I tell you what, on Monday, I had the biggest migraine ever the whole episode. Holy.
Really?
Oh, my God. So it hits me like, I reckon once every 2 months. My mum used to get them as well. And unless I close my eyes, and when I get migraines, I get my belly goes, everything. Anyway, so I was dying. And I had a 45-minute drive home as well.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas
that's tough.
I used to live just around the corner. Now I live ages away.
Yeah.
Because friggin' rent prices are crazy. And so like the drive home, like, oh my God, I had to go home. And I basically went home, got home, and I slept till the next day.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, it was the worst migraine. It's probably the worst migraine I've ever had.
So that's why I didn't hear from you for like the rest of that day, as much as usual.
Honestly, it was so painful.
Wow.
And yeah, like it just like this, like almost like drilling in the back of your eye. It's so bad.
Far out. Not a good day to get that. The big.
I know, and I was dying up there. I was seriously dying. It was so hard. So now I'm down here chilling. Jeez, it's comfortable. I could just relax. It's so good. Anyway, what a cat. Need to toughen up. Bit of cement. Alrighty. 3 players: Saifidi, Brayley, and Hetherington have reportedly been, I guess, told or tapped on the shoulder and basically said if you can find somewhere else, then you should take that. Look, we just accept it these days now. Like it's just like, oh yeah, they've been tapped on the shoulder, and if you can find somewhere else, that's fine. It's just like become so part of the game that like that's a big deal. Like getting tapped on the shoulder in the middle of your contract and going, even though we signed you on this contract, we agreed to it, we offered it to you, you can actually find somewhere else. Now I know the positive is like they're going to get paid that no matter what. They'll get some from another club and some from Knights. But doesn't mean families aren't getting moved around. Doesn't mean that you're not devastated by the fact that you're committed to the Knights. So yeah, just wanted to just note that because we just say it now in the media and people just move on. Like they've been tapped on the shoulder. Where do you reckon they'll end up? It's like no one even mentions like their lives just getting completely uprooted. Yeah,
for sure. Especially Newcastle people because no matter what. They got to move. Like it's not like a Sydney team. Like Satili Tupanua, even though it's rough, like he signed a new deal like 2 months ago for 4 years, and he's already been told to go to the Bulldogs.
It's actually insane.
That's insane. Like why they re-sign him, I have no idea. But at least he's moving across the road to the Bulldogs. Like Brayley, Hetherington, and Daniel Saifidi, they're gonna have to move somewhere.
Yeah, and this is all reportedly, but there's been a bit of smoke around this for a little bit now.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I guess it's part of the game. It sucks, and I just think that and I think fans are coming around a little bit. So when a player is unhappy and wants to move on, although I don't like that, just because someone does something wrong doesn't mean 2 wrongs make a right. I don't like that, but also we can't be as harsh on players because it happens to players all the time by clubs.
Yeah, it seems like it happens probably more so.
Clubs do it way more.
Yeah.
Clubs do it way more. Yeah. Way more. So anyway. In regards to the situation, look, it sucks. It sucks for those players. But I can understand from a perspective of, the Brayley one is the hardest one to swallow because he's just been injured. So I can understand where the Knights are coming from for sure. But at the same time, what else could have he done to play better footy? Like he's worked his ass off. Yes, he's struggled with injury. So it's just one of the brutal truths of rugby league that you got a guy that's a real clubman that you would want around any team, a really good bloke, a good footy player, but he's just been so unlucky with injury. Guy like Saifidi, I think if you've listened to our podcast for quite a while, we've questioned his consistency and, has he really kicked on the way that I think a guy as big as him and as talented as him, like look how good he was in Origin.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes you just need a fresh start. Like the Saifidi brothers have been at that club for so long now. So it might be good for Saifidi as well. Go to a new club, fresh start, a better system. We have to remember as well, like, we always look to the players and go, oh, you haven't been as consistent as we would have hoped. But tell me any player in that Knights roster over the last decade that's been consistent.
Yeah.
Like name me one.
Yeah, exactly.
Zero.
You probably can't.
Literally zero.
Yeah.
Even Kalen Ponga's form has been up and down. And Kalen Ponga is, incredible. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so at some point, although it doesn't mean that the Knights have to go back on their decision to move in a different direction, but at some point when we look at a player and we go, oh, you've been a bit inconsistent and you probably haven't hit your potential, well, is it the player or is it the system? Because the system hasn't been great for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, Peter O'Sullivan, he's arrived there, hasn't he? He left the Dolphins.
He's just arriving there now, apparently.
He's just arrived there.
Or is at least looking over the place.
Yeah, so he was at the Dolphins. Now, I'd assume that decision, again, I don't know this, but it seems like he's leaving when Wayne's leaving, so it must have been like, I'll come up with Wayne to do it, but then once I lay the foundation, I'll...
To be fair, like he's a recruitment. He's jumped around clubs his whole... Like
I was about to say, he seems like a guy that loves to build things.
Yep.
and then lay a foundation and then move on to the next.
For sure. Yeah, like he did that at the Warriors. He's been at the Roosters. He's clearly done that at the Dolphins. Like he's done a fantastic job at the Dolphins. So
is that the Storm for a period too?
The Storm. I reckon he's been at a lot of clubs. Yeah. Yeah.
So look, exciting for Knights fans because he's literally the best in the business, I think.
To your point as well, like the Saifidis, I'm pretty sure they're Knights juniors, right? So they played 20s. They grew up. I mean, they were born in Fiji, but they grew up in the Central Coast. So I assume that they've been Knights their whole lives, which means they were in that system, even though it wasn't the top grade. But the Knights were winning back-to-back spoons back then. So they've been in that system for a long time. So a fresh start would be great.
It would be great. And also, you have to remember, what is Andrew Johns, one of his biggest complaints was the fact that their juniors aren't well taken care of. Like in the past, the fact that the junior system isn't good. Think about how many people they lost.
Oh, yeah. It's sickening to see.
And so, like, a guy like Saifidi, like, granted, he's an adult and he's getting paid big bucks and you're responsible for your own form, for sure. But also, like, can we all honestly sit here with a straight face and say that he's been in the best system? I don't think so.
No, definitely not.
Because I can't point to a single player in that Newcastle system that has been, for the last decade, that's like a junior that's been consistent in their footy.
Yeah. Yeah, you take away Ponga, but even someone like Best, like he's been in and out of form, in and out of injury, and he's been one of the best players. Like you can say that about pretty much all of them.
And so like, as I said, KP, I know he's not a junior, but he came down basically as he was coming in first grade. Like he had years where, he was obviously had injuries as well, but he also, his form wasn't as good as we know it
that year where he was in the top 10 of the Dally M, the next couple of years after that, he was very quiet. Inconsistent, yeah.
Well, not quiet's the wrong word, just inconsistent. Like he'd have these incredible games and he'd be a little bit quiet. So I actually think for him, for Saifidi specifically, I think he can really take this opportunity with both hands, go to a good club, maybe take a little bit of a pay cut because he has I know he's a little bit older now. I think he's like 28 or something.
28, yeah.
He still has plenty of time to be his next 3 years at a good club, he can become a premier front rower. In Origin, he was outstanding.
Yeah.
So it will suck for Daniel Saifidi, but it's a really good opportunity. If you look at it, depending how you look at it, it could actually be life-changing for him.
I think so. And there's so many clubs that could use him. I look at South, for example. South could use him desperately. And I was wrong. He wasn't born in Fiji. He was actually born in Newcastle. So his whole life's been Newcastle.
Yeah, whole life's been Newcastle. So a fresh start might be exactly what he needs. He seems like a really good guy as well. Both the Saifidi brothers, they just seem like good blokes. So you always wish them well when you know that they don't look like dickheads, they don't carry on, they do their job. So
they're great. I've dealt with Daniel, not Jacob because I was here by then, but in Origin, I dealt with Daniel. He was unreal person.
Yeah, so you always want those guys to succeed. In regards to Brayley, look, he's just in a tough spot because there's not a lot of clubs that are going to want to pick him, not because he's not good, just because of the injuries.
Yeah.
And so there's no way he's going to take why would he take a pay cut? Why would he leave to take a pay cut when he, even in himself, what if he gets injured again?
Yeah.
How old is he? I think he's about 27 now as well.
I'll have a look.
So it's going to be tough for him. I think that they may struggle to offload him.
He's 28.
He's 28, so he's still got some footy left in him.
For sure.
But yeah, 28, a lot of injuries. It's going to be really tough to offload him. I've met Brayley before. He's been on the podcast. Another guy, really, really good bloke. And he was captain of the club, and rightly so. He's just been so unlucky. So I just want him to get back on the field and just playing footy because he's a bloody good. When he gets,
he's
on
great.
The field, he's a bloody good footy player.
But it hurt. This one hurts a little bit because, like Saifidi, I can think of 5 or 6 clubs who pick him up like that.
Yeah,
I'm just not sure what's going to happen with Brayley.
Yeah,
obviously they'll take him on a low contract, but what he actually deserves.
Yeah, and what he's on right now. So anyway, in regards to Hetherington, look. He's pretty much been a bench player for a few years now. I think he'll probably pick up another club. It'll probably be on... he would have to take a pay cut. It'll just be a matter of how much Newcastle can chip in for Hetherington's one. Look, he's actually been quite good. I know he had that one issue with Marnie, but he's actually been quite good when it comes to keeping his cool.
Yeah.
But I think he's just on a big wicket. I think he's on like 500 or 600k though.
Oh, is he?
That's reportedly.
Okay.
So maybe he's on less and that's being released to make it look like a better decision to let him go.
To be fair, not to speculate, but that would make sense. If they have salary cap problems, they wouldn't get rid of someone on 200k. So
No. It seems I'd be surprised if he isn't on, because there was a period there where he's playing some good footy. I think he was at obviously the Dogs, then he was at the Warriors.
So he was at Panthers, then Warriors, then Dogs, then Knights.
And he played some bloody good footy. And I'm always a bit surprised that he doesn't have more impact on games. He's big. He's a big, explosive athlete. Not necessarily crazy athletic, but at the same time, he's quite mobile for how big he is.
Yeah.
So maybe he needs a fresh start as well. But I think that he's probably going to have to. It's going to be tough for him to get the same contract.
I'm just having I had a look at Bailey's recent games. Had a look at Hetherington's. There seems to be a pattern here. So Hetherington's played reserve grade in the last couple of weeks. Pretty much hasn't played reserve grade the last 2 years. Whereas Brayley at around the same time got dropped from hooker to bench. So yeah, clearly things have been in the works.
This is what clubs do.
Exactly.
They just make your life shit. For example, the longer Hetherington plays reserve grade, the less value he's worth.
Yeah.
The more Brayley sits on the bench, the less value he's worth. And you're just sitting on the bench, your value goes down, it goes down, and just all other little things. And it sucks. But what can you do?
What do you do?
It's never going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be long, but the clubs will always have the power.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Because the clubs will always have the power, in my opinion, because fans at the end of the day are fans of the club. So they'll always, not always, but most of the time take the club side.
Absolutely.
So the clubs will usually win the PR battle.
Yeah.
Because a fan is a fan of the club. They're a fan of the player, but if that player leaves, they're still going to be supporting the club. So yeah, look, it is what it is. I think that, in regards to purely ruthless business decisions, I do think their roster needs a bit of an overhaul.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised there was talks about them potentially going after Blaze Talangi. They don't need outside backs, in my opinion.
No way.
They need forwards.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Anyway, let's get into some previewing of rugby league. Eels versus South. Now, Eels are paying $2.27. The line is 3.5. South Sydney, $1.64. In regards to the roster that's getting put out, hamstring injury to Sivo rings Tungor on the wing for his NRL debut, while back rower Charlie Guymer will also make his debut off the bench. Rabbitohs, Cam Murray and Latrell Mitchell are back after missing the win over Manly on Blues origin duty to see. So Michael Cheekham goes to the bench, Jai Gray to 18th man, and Murray has been named on the edge.
Named on the edge. Ooh, yep, named on the edge, which is very interesting.
I don't like it.
I don't like it, and I also don't believe that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, surely not. Surely we've learnt our lesson with this stuff.
Come
on. Cheekham's been going okay.
Yeah. So, I get wanting to keep Keon in the middle, but just put him at front row.
100%.
I'm hoping that Cam starts the game at lock, Keon starts in the front row, and then they just bring on Cheekham, and then maybe Kepi drops to the bench.
Surely Kepi just drops to the bench, and you put you put Keon at third. Keon's playing like a front rower.
Exactly.
He's not really ball playing that much.
No.
You put Murray at 13. Look at this. This would be your starting four pack if you did that. Mawali, Keon in the front row. That's a
ridiculous.
Great, relatively young, explosive, really, really good stuff. Then you've got Jai Arrow, Cam Murray, and probably Cheekham on an edge, or Tallis Duncan. I want to know. I want to know so bad. Why not have Tallis Duncan on the edge? But anyway.
I've said it 100 times, but they refuse to play him on the edge.
There must be a reason.
There has to be a reason, yeah.
And so put Cheekham on the edge, and so your back row will be Cam Murray, Jai Arrow, and Cheekham.
Cheekham, you're right. Cheekham's been doing a good job. I thought he was, no one mentioned his name, but the Broncos game, I thought he was really, really good. The last game they played, I thought he was pretty good as well, but he's been doing great. So
you just say, go out and tackle your ass off. That's all we need from you.
Yeah.
We barely need any runs. If you come off the field and you've only ran for 60 metres, I don't give a shit. All I want is as many tackles with as little misses as possible, and that's it. That's your job.
Cam on the edge. You know what? If you got to put one of them on the edge, I'd rather you just put Keon back there. If they have to do that.
Yeah. Because Cam is a better 13 than Keon at this stage. Now, look, if Keon does this for the rest of his career, then he's a friggin' best edge. He's the best 13 in the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't understand that. I get, I do understand the thought process of like, if you've got Arrow and Murray on the edge, that edge defense is, fucking locked down. Like, you could argue like defensively, those two edge players are some of the best defensive edges in the competition.
Yeah.
But I just think Cheekham was doing a good enough job that they can afford to just put in there.
I agree. Maybe because, Tane Mill and Richie Kenner, not South's first choice centres. Maybe they just want to put some experience out of that edge. But again, like, I'd still rather Keon out there than Cam. Like, put Cam at 13. Anyway,
we'll see what. Look, you know what? Maybe they're trying to handle his workload.
Maybe, yeah.
Because it's
like he's just come back.
Yeah, I don't know. In regards to the Eels, so Sivo's out. Tungor, going to be interesting. Like Tungor, you can definitely see their brothers.
Oh, they look so similar. They look identical. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the Eels bounce back from last game, because although they played well for where they are on the ladder, it's still a roster that should be winning those games.
Yeah, they should have won.
Mitchell Moses' confidence is through the roof. Going to be interesting to see how Rabbitoh's forward pack goes against a forward pack like, Campbell, Gillard, Junior Bolo. Madison's been named on the edge. Sean Lane named at 13.
That's interesting as well, yeah.
I wonder whether they're just going that big front row.
Because he's been coming off the bench and he's been playing a bit of middle here and there. I haven't thought, wow, he should start at lock, but
it's interesting because on Monday we were saying, I don't think Joe Offengow is at 13.
True.
And so he's been demoted to the bench, and Lane comes in at 13.
You know what? Well, maybe Madison will start at lock and Lane will start on the edge. Who knows?
Yeah, but why would you do that? Just name him at 13.
I don't know.
Just name him at 13.
Why is South naming Cam at 11? I don't know. But
probably because he's going to play there.
Hope not.
So yeah, I like Madison starting. Look, I get the idea of Madison. He brings a lot of impact, and that's really important. But I just don't think the Eels have the luxury of bringing Madison off the bench right now.
Yeah,
I just think he needs to be playing as many minutes as possible.
I agree with that for sure.
I think that. Yeah, look, it's a tough one because if you put Madison at lock, who do you put on an edge for him? Because Lane struggled on the edge.
Lane's not having the best year on the edge. You are right.
And also Lane has been okay through the middle.
Yeah, he's been good.
Simplify his game.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. So.
And I only just realised that then. I'm like, well, who do you put on the edge?
Yeah.
If it's not Madison.
Yeah, because you're not going to debut that Charlie guy on the edge.
No way. So you got Charlie, Guymere, Matt Dury, Offengow, and Arthur on the bench.
Yeah, there's no one.
Offengow's not going on an edge.
No way.
Matt Dury potentially could go on the edge, but
I'd certainly rather
Madison
him on the bench
to lock that edge up. So makes sense in regards to the.
You know what? The more you say it, the more I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, the more it makes sense. Like if they had an edge back, like for example, if they had the situation the Rabbitohs do, where they've got an edge back row and Cheekham that's doing a job, then I'd be like, mate, just put a Cheekham there. But they don't actually have that.
Yeah.
So it's actually not the same as the Rabbitohs situation.
Just, I know it's not a betting show, but the Knights game last week, how you guys were speaking about how Moses scored those 2 tries, when Brown was dishing in ball, which is what we haven't really seen much of. With South's kind of centres of Tane Milne and Richie Kenner, I'm thinking of Moses anytime again for this week. Like, if they do that again,
I think Trent Barrett, because he was a brilliant 6, has identified that, and I think he'll start scoring a lot of tries, Mitchell Moses, because I think he's identified Mitchell Moses a bit further out, used that speed, and he scored. It was like literally the same try twice.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So also don't forget, brought to you by Bloke Beer for blokes that turn up for family, mates, and good times. If you turn up, you have a Bloke Beer. Also, it's Aussie Spirit in a can. Get to your local, grab a case of Bloke Beer, the beer of rugby league. We've got the midi, we've got the full strength. Okay, in regards to the ladder position, so Rabbitohs are 14th, Eels are 16th. If the Rabbitohs are sitting on 16 points, the Eels are sitting on 12. Geez, haven't the Eels
Oh, yeah.
I know, like you'd say, well, they sacked their coach. So, it's been a dramatic season for them. But I think like the public hasn't been that like as negative on the Eels as you would assume when they're sitting equal last.
Yeah, it's like look at the bad press
Rabbitohs
that South got.
Yeah.
Eels are just as big as club as Rabbitohs. Like, Eels are a huge club.
They're a huge club, and they're sitting equal last.
Yeah, and they were last 2 weeks ago. So,
and it's like
maybe because they didn't actually, I don't know. Maybe it's because they had the bye that week. They came last. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's not necessarily. It's more just about I haven't seen as many headlines about that. Don't get me wrong. I've seen them, but the headlines around South were like astronomically busy. Now it might be because just South sell more papers.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
And because Demetrio was he was a talking point where Barrett is interim coach at the moment.
Don't get me wrong. There has been talk about the Eels, but I don't think anywhere near.
Not even close.
Like they're sitting equal last. Anyway, I'd go nearly as far to say as the Titans have had nearly as much talking.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just us biased by looking in our own comment section. Maybe outside of this community, there has been a lot of Eels talk.
Potentially, yeah.
Again, I'm not saying there hasn't been any. I'm just saying, like, they're sitting last. That's crazy.
It's shocking, to be honest. Like, they got a way better team than this.
So if Rabbitohs win this, they'll go to 18 points. Now, they've played 14 games, so they've had 2 of their buys.
They've had all their buys.
All their buys. So, like, look, it's a desperate chase to that. They're 2 wins behind... 8 right now.
Yeah.
Actually 3 wins.
It's desperate, and as an optimistic fan, you think, okay, you look at the ladder, you're like, maybe. The fact that Jai Arrow's going for season-ending surgery next week makes me think, maybe South don't think they're going to make the 8.
I don't. Well, look, basically, you're 4 points behind. There's about 10 rounds left. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
So you would need
There is 10 rounds left, yeah.
Yeah, so there's 10 rounds left, 10 weeks left. You'd basically need to win like 8 from 10 and hope that other teams drop 4 games or something.
Win 8 from 10 and still have hope. It's tough. Like South's got Penrith, South's got Roosters.
Yeah.
South's got Dogs, I think, which crazily is a tough game now.
It's a tough game, yeah.
So it's an uphill battle.
It's a massive uphill battle, but it is still possible. It's not getting to the point where you're going, it's mathematical possible. I don't think it's that far gone yet.
Yeah.
But it is at the point where it's like, it'd have to be one of the great runs in to make it.
For sure, and it'd be great. But at the end of the year, if South show enough, get a couple of wins, come 11th, and show huge improvements from the first year with Wayne coming next year, as a fan, I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because they were terrible 2 months ago.
Yeah. And Eels is just about pride, really.
Yeah, it's concerning they don't have their coach yet.
Yeah.
It's
so
that
the only thing I can think of with the Brad Arthur situation, they got rid of him before there was a chance for them to go on a bit of a run, so that it made it harder for
sure.
Because how could you sack him and you have not even close to his replacement sorted yet?
Yeah, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing.
And look, you go back a couple of years, the Sharkies. The difference with the Sharky situation though is they had their man.
Exactly.
But I remember we was talking about it, how it was really unfair on Morris.
Yeah.
That they sacked him before he had an opportunity to make the finals or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, it's looked like, although it was harsh and you would have hoped they could see the year out or just do it properly, Craig Fitzgibbon's been great. So
exactly, yeah.
I guess the difference here is that they're not even anywhere closer to having their coach yet.
It'd be, if I was an Eels fan, I'd be pulling my hair out at the moment.
I think, and look, the Broncos are in a similar-ish situation as the Eels last year. The Broncos are sitting 10th. They were in a grand final. They have a great roster. They lost a few players. And so, the Eels, I just think that the last couple of years, how they've handled their squad management has just been...
Yeah.
And I'm not sitting here saying they should have been able to keep everyone, but I think they made a few wrong decisions in certain key areas.
With the number one being Reid Marnie.
Reid Marnie. I really think that is just... And I know a lot of Eels fans go, that he was getting offered way more or whatever, and... My understanding, and it's a very close source, that he was offered massive unders, like massive unders.
Yeah. But he was one of their best players, the most important players.
In a key spine position.
In a key spine position, which they've had trouble with since then.
You'd be better off losing. Yeah. So, and I understand the argument. We had to keep Moses, we had to keep Brown. But the best clubs, they find a way to keep that spine together.
Exactly.
So if you have to lose another big player in another position, then you do. Like if you have to lose, a superstar outside back or whatever.
Yeah.
And I know they're short in outside backs, but I tell you what, I'd rather be short in outside backs than not be able to fill that 9.
I agree.
The positive is though, is the young Arthur coming through. Apparently, he made under 19, so he's the best of the bunch at the moment. He would probably be close-ish to making the Australian under 19 side.
Yep.
So they got one of the best young nines coming through, which is positive.
For sure, and that's good now.
Yeah.
But it's far out. They got rid of Marnie 2 years ago.
I know.
Like, come on.
Was it even 3 years ago now?
I'll check.
Yeah, no, 2 years ago because it's 2 grand finals ago. Okay. Let's get to the next game.
Just on the next game, so Sharks Titans. I did some research. And I know people are sick of us talking about this, the whole Kinney, Campbell, Brimson, but just very, very quickly, they've actually never played first grade together. Not even one game.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's insane.
And it continues this week because Campbell's out.
KO's got you covered this footy season with every game of every round live and ad break free during play. Some key games this week include Cowboys versus Manly, Roosters versus Dragons, which are exclusive to Fox League, available on KO, plus the grand final rematch, Broncos versus Panthers, which is live and ad break free during play. There's plenty of room for everyone, so get on board with KO. Now also available on Hubble. Every time I see Hubble, I think hubba. Okay, Sharkies v Titans. Daniel Atkinson comes in on the wing. Wow, for Sione Katoa. Concussion protocols. It's the only change in the squad beaten by the Doggies and Golden Point. Hazelton is named to start a prop with Toby Rudolph switching to the interchange. Titans, AJ Brimson is back from a groin injury, takes over at 5'8" from Campbell. Hand injury. Winger Fafita is back after missing Warrior games due to illness. Phil Sammy goes back to centre. Bo Famua returns to the pack. Fodawaker returns also. Sharkies paying $1.36. Titans $3.17. The line is 8.5.
Just on Atkinson to start, I was blown away when I saw that team list because I thought, where's Sam Stonestreet? I think he might have played his second game or debuted earlier this year, and he played well. But he hasn't been named for the Jets as well, and he played last week. So I think it's just really, really unfortunate timing that their backup winger also got injured this week. So now
Stone Street got injured this week.
Well, he's not named for the Jets. So
he must have got injured then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Far out. I mean, Atkinson has played a bit of fullback.
Yes.
For New South Wales Cup. Even, did he play a little bit for first grade as well? Anyway, for New South Wales Cup, he's played a bit of fullback. Bit of a small winger, though. Like, that's coming from a guy. I was also a small winger.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be bombing to him for sure. Surely.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I mean, I know he's a fullback, but the fullback catching is substantially different to a winger catching.
Yeah.
The different positions, different pressure, different types of catches, all that. So different angle of kicks. Probably more grubbers as a winger. You might probably going to probably this. Actually, you know what? Fullback probably pick more grubbers up. So it's a big ask. Look, the Sharkies have just got to get things back on track. It's been a bit of they had this really good run and they'd beaten these top tier sides. Like that win against the Storm goes down even bigger now when you look back on it.
Crazy, wasn't it?
How well the Storm are going right now, sitting 2 wins above everyone else on the table.
Did that without Hines as well.
Did that without Hines. So that was so important to them. They're such a strange team because they get that win, but then they have such a substantial loss to the Panthers. It nearly erases that win. They're just in this really tough spot right now. They need to just bring things in, keep it simple, not let... Look, the fact of the matter is, and I know a lot of us aren't looking Bulldogs at this way at the moment, but they lost to the Dogs, who it was a golden point. Tough calls went against them. Matty Burton's boot just kept him in the game.
They scored more tries.
So if conversions had gone over, and also the Bulldogs, they're sitting 5th.
Yeah, the Bulldogs are good now.
They're good now.
Yeah.
Whereas like mentally, and I say this respectfully, when I see the Sharks lost to the Bulldogs, I'm thinking, fuck.
I admit I'm the same.
We're all the same.
Yeah.
It takes a while to really begin to accept that the Bulldogs, they're sitting 5th on the comp. At the moment, they're a top 6 side. So if you lose to them, it's not a massive negative. So yes, like the loss to the Dogs, although disappointing, I think it's more disappointing, not because they lost it, it's because of the way they lost it. The game, they'd done so much good work to get themselves in the position to win that game, and they obviously lost it. So it's just all about not allowing, not the playing group, not taking on board, we lost to the Bulldogs and we shouldn't have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they could lose confidence and go far out. We lost that game against the Doggies. They're rebuilding and they've recruited all these new people. They got a new coach, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, they lost to 5th place by a point.
Yeah.
Like that's the reality of what happened. So don't lose confidence from that. Any team can lose by a point to a top 5 side.
Well, it's funny you say that, and this actually hasn't clicked, but until right now. So you're right, they beat Melbourne. They got pumped by Penrith. They got beat by the Bulldogs, who were 5th. And then in between all that, they actually beat the Roosters' Magic Round. So they've played if you take them out, the top 4 teams besides them, they've played them in the last 6 weeks, and they're 2-2.
2-2. Yeah, so it's like, you look at that and you go, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So that's what I've been saying for the last month with the Sharks. It's just a tough time. It's a tough period. I think they'll come out the other end a much better footy side.
And their other loss was to the Dolphins. It was 6th. So
yeah,
it's not like, yeah.
It's not doom or gloom.
No.
At all. And I think a lot of people are, the Sharks are sliding, they're done. I tell you what, this Shark side looks a million times better than the Shark slide that this time last year they were sliding off a cliff.
Yeah.
Like they were nearly sliding out of the 8. And they held it together somehow, some way, and they ended up making the top 8. So they just got to find it, keep the confidence, stick to the game plan, stick to their systems, just get the win. It doesn't have to be pretty, just get the win. That's what they got to focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big game for, I hate to say it, big game for Hines.
Yeah, huge game.
Yeah.
He's in a tough period right now. It's that simple. A little bit of a form slump. He hasn't been terrible, but he also hasn't been at the heights we know he can be at. He'll push through and he'll learn a lot from this. This is what makes, name me a single half that hasn't had to push through form issues.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone does it.
Exactly.
When Darren Lockyer first moved to 6, he was getting hounded that he wasn't a 6, that he shouldn't be there. He should be moved back to fullback.
Brad Fittler got rated the most overrated player in 2001.
Yeah. In 2000, did you say?
2001.
And he won a premiership.
What? And then the next 3 years he was in 3 grand finals.
So this is a natural part of a halves life. This is a natural part, natural progression. I think he'll be better for it. In regards to the Titans, far out. They are just so... You just don't know which Titans going to rock up.
Yeah.
You just do not know. Look, in regards to their season, I'm just looking at the ladder. It's pretty much over. They've got 14 wins. They're similar. They've got one more win than the Rabbitohs, but they've had all their buys. So for them to make the 8, they need to go on a crazy, crazy run. So for the Titans, it's all just about, can we go down and ambush them? Can we go down to the Sharks and just pull their pants down, them expecting to beat the Titans at the bottom of the table? They've done it before. Titans went up to the Suncorp and did it to the Broncos. Why can't they do it to the Sharkies?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in neutral territory as well. It's in Coffs Harbour.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. More of an even opportunity to ambush them because it's not on the home ground.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can. But yeah, the Titans, what a weird club.
Such a weird season. Because they've been getting heaps of losses, but some of the losses have been, they've fought. Some of the losses have been disgraceful. So you're just what's going on?
Yeah, if you didn't know Des Hasler was there and you just looked at results, you'd be like, what's changed? What's changed? They're sitting third or fourth last. They've got pumped and then they come out and they play really well the next game. That's what the Titans have been doing for years.
Yeah, exactly.
Matter of fact, they've been going, I think last year at this time, they were 9th.
Oh,
Remember how they sacked Holbrook?
That's right. And they
had players injured and they were sitting 9th.
You know what? Round 17 last year, they were sitting 9th. There you go.
I'm fucking the Rain Man.
That is crazy.
I'm the Rain Man. I watched too much rugby league to not know that.
That is crazy. Yeah, so they were 7-7 in round 17 last year.
Yeah. So, I guess the thing is, I feel like you can see changes when you actually watch them play though. But at the end of the day, if their coach's name wasn't Des Hasler, the mad scientist, this would be a disaster.
Oh, 100%.
But because Des Hasler has the air of magic around him, and he has the runs on the board as well, we all go, oh, it's all part of the master plan. But the fact of the matter is, it's been a disaster season for him.
Yeah, and if we're comparing apples and apples, they've gone way down the ladder from last year. So
hopefully they can bounce back. Okay, Broncos, Panthers. Speaking of disaster seasons, holy. Okay, Broncos, big guns, Walsh, Carrigan, Haas, all return after being rested following Origin 2. Mariner shifts to the centre. Corey Oates returns from a knee injury on the wing. Katoni Stagg's unavailable. I think he is attending a funeral. Jack Gajewski. See, guys, it's not just the Polynesians' names I ruin. It's also what's that area of the world, like Russia and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, what, Eastern European?
Eastern European names. I also ruined them too. I tell you what, it took me 3 years to learn how to spell Trebojevic.
Yeah.
Anyway, and Fletcher Baker, knee, both suffered injuries against the Warriors, so they're obviously out. Panthers, the Premiers welcome back Origin stars Edwards, To'o, Luai, Martin, while Isaiah Yeo returns to the starting side after coming off the bench post Origin 2. Dane Laurie, Liam Henry, Eisenhuth revert to the bench. Look, Broncos, desperately need a win. Problem is, you're playing the Panthers.
Yeah, tough.
The positive thing for the Broncos is, you know what the problem is, and you know that they have the squad. When it clicks into gear, they'll be back to a top-tier side. But the argument against that is we were saying the same thing about the Eels the year after their grand final. They've still got the roster. Look at their spine. Look at their forward pack. So, we can sit here and go, they have the players to come back, and when it clicks, it'll be brilliant. It hasn't. They're sitting 10th.
Yeah. The concerning thing is, and I certainly wouldn't have picked this about 6 weeks ago, but yes, Walsh hasn't played for a while. Yes, Reynolds has been out. But for the most part, when the players are back, the whole forward pack's been there.
Yeah.
And that's like the Broncos have one of the scariest forward packs in the comp.
They should be dominating nearly every team.
Exactly. That part is extremely concerning.
Like the fact that we lost to the Titans, so, you can try and sugarcoat it and, look at all these players that they've got out. No, come on, guys. Let's be real here. This has been an extremely disappointing season. The positive for the Broncos, though, is they have it within their power to turn it around, whereas most clubs don't.
Yes.
Most clubs don't have the roster to go, boom, turn it around. So they've got to stick together. They've got to just reduce the amount of errors. They've got the most errors in the NRL.
Yeah, and even last year, in the week of the grand final, everyone was saying they're still making a lot of errors, and that's when they were playing good.
Yeah.
So they're playing really badly at the moment, but
the difference is they had the second best defense in the competition last year. This year they're 10th or 11th or something like that. So huge game for the Broncos, and as I said, they just need to. They don't need to play the Panthers game, and they don't even need to win this game because it is the Penrith Panthers. But they just need to complete their sets. Put up a good fight. If they win, great. If they lose, but it's a respectable loss, that's all the confidence they need. It's not, to be honest, it's not even about winning or losing this week for the Broncos. It's about putting together 80 minutes of good footy without 1,000 errors.
Yeah, exactly. Because their run home, it's kind of mixed. They're playing some tough teams, some teams they should beat. But if they get pummeled by the Panthers,
the confidence will
be down. Yeah.
In regards to the Panthers, look, they're still, in my opinion, premiership favourites. But I will say, their loss on the weekend, they've had a couple uncharacteristic losses this year. And I don't mean the fact that they shouldn't lose. I just mean the way they've lost the games has been a bit uncharacteristic, like a high error count, a low completion rate. So they just got to, being super nitpicky here, but just got to not allow to get too far off the tracks. They're now 2 wins behind the Storm.
Yeah.
So they if they lose to the Broncos and the Storm win, that's 6 points.
Yeah.
Behind first place.
Yeah.
Which is very uncharacteristic of Storm. And granted, Cleary's been out for most of the season, for sure, I get that. But they've shown in the past that they, usually can handle that. Look, they're still sitting second. They're still premiership favourites for me, in my opinion. But they're just going to make sure it doesn't get with all the distractions that have happened off the field this year. This is a really good game. If they go out and put a score on the Broncos, to just remind everyone, no, we're still the fucking big dogs. We're still the big dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been such a weird one for the Panthers because the only person that's impressed me more so than last year, obviously Edwards is always, going to kill it. The Fords are always killing it, but it's been Jerome Luai at 7. But besides that, it's just so tough without Cleary, I guess. So they're just so hard to get a read on, but I do expect them to win this game, and if they don't, then I'd start thinking, oh, geez, what's going on here? They're not a one-man team.
It depends how they lose it. If they do lose it, and they lose, by a try or two, you just go, oh, it's the Broncos. Oh, look at their team; it's a pretty bloody good team, and they're both missing their key ball game, their key player.
Yeah.
But if they get beaten substantially by the Broncos after that loss to the Cowboys, that's when you start going,
oh shit.
Yeah.
This game's an interesting watch for both teams. It's a
grand final rematch.
Yeah.
And they're both essentially at the same strength, missing just their key playmaker.
True. Yep.
Jeez, what a year it's been for Luai. What a year. What an incredible season for Luai. I cannot express how much this year for Luai, for how many years he sat back and watched people on the internet, and you know what? Even us to a degree. Now we've always been fans of Luai, but we've always been like he's second fiddle to Cleary. Like, don't get me wrong, we were backed him all the way in Samoa World Cup push and said that he could lead them around the park, and he could. But we were basically, the way I saw it anyway, is he was just the best that they had in the halves. That's why he was leading them around the park. And so even guys that have fully backed Luai, been such fans of him and what he's achieved and how he's played, all of us, I think, will put our hands up and go, we never really felt that he was a fully rounded half. And what I mean by that is we saw him as a bloody good six. Like a bloody good six that if he didn't have a 7, could fill in and do a 7's role. This year he's proven. No, he's a bloody good half. And his ability to play second fiddle to Cleary or the main man as a 7 has shown everyone that the signing for the Tigers, I was a bit concerned when they signed him, that they signed him for so much money as a 6, because I'm like, the 6 isn't the main guy. Like, you need your 7. Like, even look at the Storm. It's Hughes that at the moment is getting the wins for him.
Yeah.
If Munster was playing, would they be as consistent? I'm not sure. I don't know. And I looked at Luai to the Tigers. I was like, geez, that's a lot of money for he's the tip of the spear. He's not the handle. Whereas now that you see him play, you go, no, he's the handle as well.
Absolutely. I'm the same. When he signed with the Tigers, I'm like, all right, they signed a big name. They need someone good in there, but I didn't think he could do this, despite all the Samoa stuff as well. Like, I straight up didn't think he could do this. Not only his ability, but his willingness to be able to shift from second fiddle to halfback is so unselfish, and just like, obviously he's one of the most polarizing people in the NRL, but God, I reckon he's gained a lot of respect and a lot of fans this year just for his willingness to be so unselfish, to play second fiddle at some times, but to also be the man sometimes.
Yeah, and he's polarizing, and he said some things, but like when you really look at what he said, who gives a shit? Like, who gives a shit? Look, I understand if it pisses you off, and you don't have to love him, but in the grand scheme of things you can do wrong in your life as a young man, it's about a 1 out of. It's not even a 1 out of 10.
It was nothing.
It's just saying silly things. Like you've got cameras all, it's just saying silly things as a young man, or as what is he, 26 or something like that, 27?
The whole work the next day after we lost an Origin series, I reckon that burnt me for a couple of days. But then if you're not laughing about that now, like, come on.
Like, look, it's a young man that is dealing with hundreds of thousands of people hating on him.
Oh, yeah. Imagine his DMs that night.
Annihilated. Yeah. And he's lashing out, and he said something silly.
Yeah.
He said something silly because, ironically, his family members would have to work tomorrow. Like, the people he loves and cares about. He's from an area that it's a tough area.
Yeah.
So, like,
when you look back, it's
on the scale
funny,
of look. And as I said, it doesn't mean you have to sit there and go, "Oh, he's the best player in the world." But he said something silly. You get a bit pissed off, and then you move on.
Exactly.
And I think he's been outstanding this year. I think he's been so good. So can't wait to see him play on the weekend. Broncos are $2.41. Panthers are $1.57. The Lions 3.5. All right, Bulldogs v Warriors. Connor Tracy, concussion protocols. He's back in number 1 jersey. Jacob Kiraz reverts to the wing. Skelton slides to 18th man. Kurt Mann returns from suspension on the bench, pushes Blake Taft to reserves. No changes to the 17, which got the job done against the Broncos, but with a couple of tweaks. This is the Warriors to the forward pack rotation. Bulldogs paying $1.48. The Warriors $2.66. Man, I tell you what, who would have thought you'd be at this part of the season and the Bulldogs would be $1.48 favourite against the Warriors?
You'd think the Warriors were decimated. Like, you'd be like, oh, the Warriors must just be full of injuries, full of suspensions. But nah, honestly, that $1.48, I actually reckon I'm going to get on that.
You're going to get your hands juicy.
I think that's pretty good value for a team that hasn't lost one game at home this year. Yeah, and who's got the second best defense in the comp.
Okay.
I like it. I'm all aboard the Doggies this year. It's so good seeing him win like this.
What a need, like, if they can win this match, like, they just keep racking the points up, just racking them up. And before you know it, they could be sitting in the top 4. Like, I don't have them there yet, and there's still so long to go, as we said, 10 rounds essentially.
Yeah.
But they could be. Could you find what's their run home?
I'll get it up.
And so I just look at this team and I go, like, yeah, they've got some good players sprinkled through it, but at the same time, you look at the opposition. Okay, so you've got Tracy versus Klokstad.
Sorry.
What's their run home?
Get ready, Doggies fans. So they got Warriors this week, obviously. Then they
Winnable, they're favourites.
Yep, bye. Then Cowboys away.
So that could be 4 points.
Yep.
That could be 4 points.
Cowboys away.
Winnable.
Broncos away.
Winnable. Right now, anyway.
Yep.
But that's a tough period because they've got to travel to Queensland twice.
So that's a tough period. Then Raiders at home. Dragons away. Dolphins at home. Warriors away. Manly at home. Cowboys at home.
So they don't play Storm, Roosters.
The top team they play in all of that is the Dolphins.
Fuck. They could make the top 4.
They could make the top 4.
What?
This could be the Warriors of last year.
Holy.
Oh.
I actually think it's better than the Warriors of last year because the Warriors have always had the roster to do it. They just don't put it together.
And it's almost better when teams win through their grittiness and defense.
Yeah.
Because, you're right. We've seen this from the Warriors before. And the Warriors was fantastic, but no one could have even...
No. And the Warriors, again, most years the Warriors have been in the competition. When you look at that roster, you go, this roster could be in the 8.
Yeah.
The roster that we've, looking at this roster this year for the Dogs, it was if they make the 8, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And I know they've got some stars in, but, last year you looked at that roster, and the years before that, they just didn't have, their roster was just nowhere near a top 8 roster.
Yeah.
Not only could they make the 8, they might be in top 4. If they can get 4 points here, and then they get 2 points from the Broncos or Cowboys road trip, you're sitting at 6. So that's 3 from 4 if you obviously include the bye. Then the rest of the run home, they're all winnable games. I'm not saying they win every single one of them, but let's just say from that run home they go. How many games it's 9? Did you say?
I think there's 8 left. 10 left.
10 games left.
Wait, let me count.
So if they can go 7 from 10. They genuinely could make
10 left.
So they got 10 games left. If they go 7 from 10, which they absolutely could when you look at who they're playing, they could finish in the top 4.
It's unbelievable. And I'm pretty sure they're the only team this year that hasn't conceded 30 yet. And they've played everyone. They've played the Roosters twice. They've played the Storm. They've played the Panthers.
Yeah.
Mate,
they lost to the Panthers 16-10.
Oh, and
at Penrith.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Ridiculous.
The Warriors, no changes to the 17. Got Tamate Martin, I think, at half. It's just such a good opportunity for him to really stamp his authority on the team this year, at least form-wise. Are the Warriors back? I'm not there yet. They beat a Broncos side. Don't get me wrong, great win. But they were desperate to win. It was at home. They had a record loss the week before. And the Broncos were missing all of their key players.
When a team loses by 60, I usually tip them the next week.
Yeah, the next week. And so I'm not ready to say they're back just yet, but I do think they're taking baby steps towards it. You know what? They remind me a little bit of the Sharkies last year, where they started really well, looked like they were completely about to slide all the way out of the 8 and to the bottom of the table. Now, and when I say they remind me of the Sharks, not to where their position is on the table, they're actually, the Sharks were always in the 8. But just that they hit this certain period around this time and they just went, honestly, it's like the floor just came out underneath them. Whereas this Warriors side, they do show signs of clawing their way out of the situation.
Yep.
Obviously I don't have them anywhere near a premiership threat this year anymore. But could they claw their way back into the 8? Maybe.
Oh, they definitely could.
Maybe.
They've got, look at it. They've got the same team as last year, so they definitely could. They're sitting pretty low though. They're one competition point ahead of the Rabbitohs. So
in saying that they've got 16 games they've played, so they've got 3 buys in hand, or 2.
I'll have a look.
They're the only team. Sorry, them and the Cowboys. Yep.
Oh, so yeah, they must
so they're the only team that hasn't had a buy yet. So they've got.
So they got 2 buys left.
So basically, let's say they had. Oh, so they got 2 buys left. Did you say?
You know what? They got their run home's pretty good as well. To be honest, actually, it's probably better than the Dogs.
If you gave them, a buy, they'd actually be sitting on 19 points right now, which is equal to the Sea Eagles, which is 9th. So they absolutely can still make the 8.
Yeah. So they
form-wise, I just don't know whether they will.
So they got Doggies bye, Raiders away, Tigers home, Eels at home, Dolphins away, Manly away, Doggies at home, Sharks away, bye. So they got a pretty good run.
They can make the 8.
Yeah.
Look, if they make the top 4 and then make the 8 next year, I'm pretty happy with that.
Especially given past history where Warriors teams have fallen off a cliff, and by no means have they fallen off a cliff yet, but there has been signs.
I think they have.
Well, sorry.
Form-wise, they have.
Oh, form-wise, they have, but I mean to just completely not make the finals the next year. Like, I reckon they can still... Like, if they don't make the finals next year, then sure. But I reckon they definitely can.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I know what you're saying, though. We have to wait till the end of the season to see whether they're falling off the cliff.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a mega motorsport weekend on KO with every lap of the F1, Supercars and MotoGP, live and ad break free during racing. Townsville, 500 Supercars, British F1 GP, German MotoGP. There's plenty of room for everyone, so get on board on KO now. Also available on Hubble. Tigers v Storm. How many games have we got left?
We're halfway.
Oh, shit. Might have to go a bit quicker here, guys. I got to be home because the wife has an appointment. I've got to take care of the baby. So apologies for that. Please don't get angry at me in the comments section.
Well, this podcast wasn't even meant to happen, so...
Yeah. I mean, I will, and look, I'm not complaining at all, but when I see people, oh, my team only got this amount of minutes and all that, look, I understand it. You've waited all week for the show. Like, sometimes you're tired. Anyway, it is what it is. I appreciate the passion. I'm
not going to lie, and not to pause this for any longer than it has to be, but we did a show a couple of weeks ago, and I had to, we decided last minute to put the Origin stuff on YouTube first. So I was cutting that, and I missed 3 games, and one of those games was South, and I literally went home that day. I'm like, I might as well listen to it. So I listened to the South bit, and my first thought was literally, could have been a bit longer.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And so I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand it. You're waiting for it all week, and we're the only place that you can come in, sit down, and get a genuine, full-on chat about the whole game.
Yeah.
You just can't get there. No one else does that. No one else does that. So I understand it. And look, I'd much rather people in the comment section say that than not comment at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Have no interest or whatever.
For sure.
Alrighty. Tigers v Storm. Look, Storm, they are they're just incredible. Seriously, I don't know what to say about them because they're not even playing their best footy yet.
They're flying without flying.
Yeah, it is absolutely amazing what they're doing. And they're also flying under the radar because you don't hear people going, holy shit, the Storm are they're premiership heavyweights and they're going to win the comp. It's chat about the Roosters, it's chat about the Penrith Panthers, and we do that too. We do that too. So we're guilty of it as well. But at the end of the day, they're 2 wins, 4 points clear.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. They don't have Munster.
Yeah.
So they haven't been blessed with no injuries. Pappy's been out for quite a few games.
Hughes hasn't played every game. Grant's missed the last couple of weeks.
It's actually insane how their ability to win matches is insane.
Yeah.
Look, I think there's a big win from the Tigers. Pappen has set to return after a week out with a foot injury. Fa'alongo reverts to the bench. Winger Coates sideline, hamstring injury. Kane Bradley comes onto the starting side. Hooker, Harry Graham's being rested again after sitting out of the Raiders game. I like that. I do think Harry Grant does look like a tired player at the moment.
Yeah, he hasn't been the same this year. Plus, that cut was pretty deep. You don't want to redo that.
Absolutely. Regan Smith has been included as 18th man after come back from concussion through New South Wales Cup last week. The Tigers, Charlie Staines comes in on the wing. Fatape moving to the centres. Naden dropping out. Bateman returns to starting side. Heath Mason joins the bench with Ruben Porter going to the 18th man. Justin Olam is listed among reserves as he looks to return from a knee injury. Look, the Tigers, really, it does seem like, they're not going to make the 8 in my opinion. They basically, this year, if I'm Benji Marshall, my main goal is just instilling good culture. Yeah. Good culture. Sitting on the bottom of the table right now. I would be looking to the Bulldogs and see what happened with them and going, okay, I need to use this year. We're not going to make the finals. I need to use this year to instill good culture. And so it's just, yes, we're not going to get wins. Yes, we may get the spoon again. But once Jerome Luai arrives, I have so much more faith that he's going to help turn that club around. Look what Critter has done at the Bulldogs. Now, I know Critter's not the only guy. I know there's plenty of other people that the Bulldogs have helped lift them up. But I think Luai actually, if you had asked me 6 months ago, is Luai a big enough player to lift him off the bottom of the table? I would have said, I'm not sure. Now I absolutely think he will. I absolutely think he is going to be a huge signing for them. I think that it's all just about laying the foundation for when he arrives next year, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And so stoked that Lachie Galvin's committed to at least the remainder of his contract, because we get to see, is it end of 2026? We get to see at least a couple of years of them two together, which is very, very exciting.
Yep. In regards to the Storm, and look, it's just keep winning. You know, as long as you get if you can sort the defense out, their defense is still one of the best in the comp. I think it's top 4, top 5. But if they can get that up to like top 1 or 2 for the rest of the season, then they're already premiership contenders. But they become even more premiership contenders. They become even closer to your Penrith, your Roosters. They just got to keep winning, really.
Seriously, I'm not worried about the Storm. I'm scared as an opposition fan, because I was there on Anzac Day when I think their best performance of the year, at the top of my head, was against Rabbitohs. I know Rabbitohs weren't going too well, but Munster just carved up that day. Munster's coming back. By the time he's back, they're probably still going to be 2 wins clear of the ladder. Like, they are a frightening prospect with him coming back.
I just get this feeling, heading into finals, they're going to click, and we're going to see Harry Grant, Munster, Hughes, Pappy absolutely tear teams apart.
Could be the opposite of 2021, where they had that record-breaking year, but everyone forgets about it because they got beaten in the prelim by the Panthers. Could be the opposite, where he's like kind of sleeping all year, even though they come in first, and then just click. Just on the Tigers, their last 3 games at Leichhardt, they haven't been favourites. I know they're probably not favourites any week, but still, and they've won all those games. So I'm tipping the Storm, but you just never know at that Leichhardt ground.
Yep. Okay, Cowboys Manly. Look, we'll just have to move quickly through this because I've got to go.
Okay.
Cowboys v Manly. Look, the big talking point is Cowboys got to back that up. Now, on the back of the fence, the win over the Premiers, Cowboys have their rested stars back. I tell you what, if they come back and play poorly, what do you do as a coach?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they were so gritty, so tough, played so well against the Panthers.
Well, their best wins this year have been without their stars. The other game was the Roosters game.
So it's just like, bloody hell. Surely they back up big. In regards to Seagulls, Tom Trbojevic will line up at centre. Look, I've been saying Tom Trbojevic should move to centre for at least a couple years now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I like this. I really like this. You know, credit to Seabold for making this tough choice. He's getting paid a big contract. You know, it'll be hard to, make this public decision when, it could backfire. He could go there, play there and get injured anyway. And then everyone's going to be calling for your head. So I applaud Seabold for making this decision. The only thing that I'm just don't understand for the life of me is Cooler is, what did I say was the concern I had with the Hopewadi Cooler situation?
Yeah.
For 4 weeks, I've been saying the same thing over and over. Fair enough. If Hopewadi is the long-term fullback, keep him there. But why aren't we putting, if he's not, you're wasting time to give Cooler reps at fullback.
I think I texted you at 4:01 yesterday when the teams dropped that. Seriously.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Now, unless it's going to change before kickoff, I just don't get. Now, like maybe the argument from Manly's perspective is we were trying to give a rookie more opportunity because he's a depth signing and he's going to improve over the years. But I just think you've got way bigger problems than worrying about depth.
Oh, you got to worry about now.
You got at the moment he's their 3rd string fullback. Now maybe Hopewadi becomes their 1st string. I don't know what happened there, but at the moment he's 3rd string because they've proven that by putting Cooler there once Tommy's back.
Yep.
So, mate, get your 2nd string fullback some time.
Yeah, you've cost Cooler 4 weeks of fullback.
A month.
Yeah,
a month of 80 minutes each week of footy. Like that could be the difference between top 8 footy and not top 8 footy. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. So yeah. I definitely applaud Seabold for the Tom Trbojevic into the centres. I think it's smart. I think it's easing back into it. Doesn't mean he has to be there the whole time. Just get through the season and then eventually put him back at fullback. But I just don't get the whole Hopewadi. I would love to know. They've clearly got reasons for it. They don't make these decisions lightly. They have all this information. I just would love to know what the reasoning is because I just think that you would have put Cole there to get as much.
The only one I can think of, and this isn't a good reason, but maybe they just were lacking depth in centres because Garrick and Turbo are back this week, even though they could just put
Brad Parker there. And you put...
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to give a reason. Yeah. I don't agree with it at all.
Honestly, I'd go... I think they're sorting out that fullback position is the number one concern at the club right now. So if you've got Vunga, You've got Polo that you brought to the club.
Yep.
Let's say you've got a centre that isn't as strong or a winger that's not as strong because they'd probably come onto the wing if Kula went back to fullback. I think that's less of a worry than having a fullback that's not getting the reps under his belt, in my opinion.
Exactly. There's still 10 weeks to go now.
Yeah.
And now Kula... Yeah. Anyway.
Roosters Dragons. Look, I think the Roosters will get the win for sure. I think it might be a bit closer than people might give credit for because of the fact they got absolutely towed last time. But the Roosters, for me, they are looking... They're a premiership threat, and there's no doubt. And I think, we've been really critical. We've been one of the first people of Trent Robinson to say about him, even this year, if this keeps going this way, there could be pressure under his job.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't want to talk about it. We spoke about it. I tell you what, we can shut up now. He has proven it. We've been talking while he's been doing actions, and his actions have said, hey, bruh, I got this. I'm going nowhere, and I'm still a top-tier coach at the Roosters. And there should be no pressure on him because they are looking unbelievable. He came out after last season and he said, we have identified the start of our season is not good enough. We will fix that. He has fixed that. He has done what he said he would do. I think Trent Robinson deserves a lot of credit for what he's managed to do. I know people will look at it and go, oh, look at his roster and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, they are a premiership threat and that's what his job is.
100%. They're scoring 30 points a game. At the moment, they're my premiership favourites. I reckon they're probably my premiership favourites at the moment. Now, we've said that a couple of times during the year where they've been hot and then they just go missing for a couple of weeks. So we'll see. We'll see if they can continue that for the rest of the year. But you're right. Robbo's done such a good job.
Such a good job. Like, he's completely changed his whole system. His whole system he won 2 premierships off this system. Start slow, come hard at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And he tried to stick to that system for a few years. It didn't work. He completely changed the system. They're now in the top 4. And basically, I'd be very shocked if they don't make the top 4, put it that way.
Oh, they'll make the top 4.
And so that's incredible. That's good coaching. He's, a good coach can win in different ways, and he's proving that right now. He's proving that right now. So, I can't wait to watch it. Dragons, look, what a year from the Dragons.
Been
what
awesome.
An incredible year.
So good.
And I tell you what, it's just they're starting to believe. You know what I mean? I feel like the players are starting to believe. They got a bit of swagger. They're looking at each other. Oh, we can do this. They might go out and get pumped this week, but they also might upset the Roosters. You just never know.
I don't reckon they'll get pumped because they got pumped by him earlier in the year on Anzac Day. Shane Flanagan, he's one of one. Shane Flanagan, he's just that weird coach that just pulls
They're in the top
average
8.
teams out of trouble. Like look what he did with the Sharks for all those years. He had to rebuild them twice because of Asada.
They're in the top 8.
It's ridiculous.
They are in the top 8. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and they got Lomax back this week, so
it is absolutely incredible. We're just looking at points differential. You know what? Roosters are actually second because they've got 16 games and the teams above them have 15 games. And their points differential, they got the best points differential in the competition.
By a huge margin.
Huge margin. So they're actually second right now. Anyway, to the Dragons, what a year. And I tell you what, it's a race between Serraldo and Flanagan for Coach of the Year, in my opinion.
For sure. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Raiders v Knights. Look, bloody good win from the Knights. They're just, Kalen Ponga back. I think if he has a massive game, I think that he probably does get that the role on the bench.
Yep.
Because KP could play wing, centre, fullback. I think he could.
Oh, he's a great. I'd be shocked if he has a good game. I'd be shocked if they don't pick him.
And so and also if Reece Walsh is not playing that well in game 3, maybe you do chuck him on. I'm not sure. If Reece Walsh isn't good to go by game 3 because he's being rested. Yeah. I know he's back this week, but whatever happens.
We'll get into it on maybe Thursday or Friday, but there's a chance they could have Cobbo, Gagai, and Ponga all in this team, I reckon.
Whew. That's so much. That's so many points. As long as they can hold the ball. So the Knights, I am so excited with them with KP back.
Yep.
Who knows, man? They've fought tooth and nail to keep themselves in touch with the top 8. Who knows?
Yeah, and this back line with him back with Will Price in there now. Oh,
and this is the same time last year when they went on their run.
Exactly right. Yep.
So who knows? Who knows? Raiders, look, just a tough time for the Raiders in my opinion. They're gritty. They're tough. Just got to hang in there. Ricky Stewart's been quite open about building towards the future. I think they're in a rebuild phase right now.
I think that was proven last week. They've pretty much not gutted, but like changed their whole back line. They've now named that back line this week. So they're trying new things, which I don't mind.
Yeah, I love watching the Raiders play because they're just so tough, so gritty. And I really respect Ricky Stewart for being very open about we're building to the future. We're taking risks on young guys. We're putting them in and we're keeping them there to build towards the future. As a fan, you can get around that as a fan. You can go, you know what, okay, we're dropping a few games here or there, but at least we're not compromising what we think a Raiders player is by going and spend massive overs to bring someone to the club. I think you're going to see the dividends of this hard period. I think you're going to see the dividends of that in the next 2 years or so.
For sure. And I also like how he's not like he's doing that, but he's also not being silly with it as well. Like Chevy Stewart's playing reserve grade at the moment.
Not being crazy about it.
Yeah.
And look how much Chevy Stewart's improved. Go look at his last year's Origin game. Go look at this year's Origin game.
That's night and day.
That's all under Ricky Stewart's tutelage.
Yeah, exactly right.
Which is a massive, massive win for him. So, alrighty, I think that's it, is it?
That's it.
Okay. As always, guys, make sure to grab a case of Bloke Beer. And also, don't forget the 22nd of July Bloke Drop. We've got our first ever Bloke spray jackets. We got our green and gold Bloke hoodies, green and gold Bloke shirts, and the green and gold Bloke hats are back as well. So the 22nd, set your little shekels aside, 6 p.m. Limited numbers, guys. And, if you're not a beer drinker or, anything else and you want a way to support the platform, this is how we do it. This is how we put out as much content as we do. And it doesn't have to go behind a paywall or whatever, is when we do these drops, hopefully you can support us. And also you get some really cool clothes from it. As usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.